for coming here today, and Mr. Gaffield always does a fine job when he's here as well. My question for you is, a lot of grant dollars that I've been able to look at, and I'm sure it's well into the millions, it has nothing to do with research in Canada. Now, that doesn't mean that we have to be ignorant as a society and not look beyond our own borders, but should we be looking at more dollars invested in Canada and looking at a Canada first approach to our research? What do you think?
Sure, thanks for the question. It's a good question. I'll say first off that in terms of the dispersal of funds amongst the councils, just shy of 80% of all new funds that go into the councils go for health research, natural sciences, and engineering, so to NSERC and CIHR. So the vast majority go there, and I think lots of it may be partnered outside of here, but it isn't research on something specific to Canada or not specific to Canada. In terms of the value of research on issues around the globe, I think it's crucial for us to be studying things that happen in Canada, but also things that happen around the globe. My own personal background in graduate research was studying the Middle East and nuclear non-proliferation related to Israel and Iran. Now, am I bringing it to bear in the work I'm doing now for universities? I'm not sure, but I do think it's important for Canadians to be engaged in issues that are important around the world. I think that what's more interesting is actually a lot of the research that's taken place in recent years into things that are history here in Canada, and aspects of Indigenous cultures, of local regionist cultures, et cetera, that we may not have understood otherwise unless we were engaged in.
Your studies that you mentioned, that's very impressive. I would never question that, because that's a very interesting topic to study. But I see research grants given out to study Dolly Parton's lyrics. The committee's heard me go, Chad, I think he gets a sore stomach why I bring it up so much. Studying the Maiden Museum in Ukraine. The list goes on and on and on. And you'd think it might be a couple, but I would say it's hundreds. And it's in the millions of dollars. And I've just tried to test it out, and maybe I cherry pick it, but when when I'm around my riding on the weekend and people say, hey, what are you doing? I'll say, well, we're doing these studies, and here's some things we're studying. And they can't believe that their taxpayer dollars are going to it. And I'm trying to present it in a fair manner. So some of the stuff you're mentioning, absolutely. It's great. People would be proud of this. But should we take a step back and look at some of these projects we're funding? Really?
Look, I think the peer review process, which I talked about, is about peers in a discipline judging what is a well-crafted research project according to the scientific method, right? You put forward a hypothesis and you're going to test it. They're going to say, is this the right experiment to run, whether that's in the social sciences or in the hard or medical sciences. I think that research reflects Canada as a whole. And as I said, the vast majority of it is in areas related to the harder sciences, medical research, et cetera. We do have research in fields in the social sciences that I know you can go through and question. I guess what I would say is we are a reflection of Canada as a whole. So just like there are arts and there are nonprofit organizations, there are research in all those fields as well. Fair
enough. But I don't know how many times we've had people come here and say, Ben, you cannot challenge the people that make these decisions. Ben, it's unhealthy. It's not wise to go and look and cherry pick. We have to look at everything. But I go down the list and I'm like, I can't believe it. Like, here's one. And my optometrist said I need bifocals, and you know what? He's right, I do. I can't hardly read this. Understanding and addressing the mental health impacts of unpaid care workers on women in Bogota, Colombia. Now, if it was in Canada, I'd say great. but in Bogota, Colombia. Why doesn't Bogota, Colombia pay for that study? And we'll do a study in Canada, maybe on unpaid work. What value is that to the Canadian taxpayer?
Sure. Look, I think that the value to the research enterprise is of the ability for researchers to explore any topic that they are interested in. I take it. I mean, look,
We're having a good conversation here, and honestly. I know you have to defend it. Ms. Johnson, does it frustrate you a little bit? And I don't want you and Dylan to get into a fight here, but does it frustrate you slightly when you're trying to get funding for your colleges and research money, and you know the studies, you're in the same groups as these guys. Does it not frustrate you that you can't get a little bit your way? Come on.
I think for me the issue is that, as I tried to set out, the college approach to research in this country has until now, not been valued in the way that we need to value it to drive impact for Canadians. And I think that, as I tried to set out, there's a need to look at the ecosystem that we invest in this country and start to look at, if we want to involve those that are partnering at the local level on problems that local folks have defined, we need to reinvest in college-led research as well.
Elon Musk's robot. That I saw him laying bricks and doing all this work. Wouldn't it be great to have one of those at every college in Canada and have young, brilliant minds think, how can we make this work for us? How can we? Absolutely. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be great to apply for a project, a federal project, and do something like that?
Absolutely. I think our view is that there is an opportunity here to really be bold and rethink the opportunity to reinvest in college-led research in this country. Right now, we get 3% of the overall federal investments, and I've said to this committee before, I'd love to see it at 10%.
Yeah, that's well over our time. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off, but okay.